And good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good, Dan. How are you?
Good. Cheers.
Cheers. Let me see, get the product placement into the shot.
There you go. Since we have a morning coffee, I figured it was only fitting that we have some coffee mugs made up as we discuss creativity as far as it goes with Dungeons and Dragons and all our other things. And I guess this week we will be discussing. We both have a Zine Quest Kickstarters kicking off this month or the month of August, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
When does yours kick off? Tomorrow morning?
Oh gosh, no, 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 no. I'm a coward. I need more prep time. Mine would start till like the middle of the month.
Okay.
Not for weeks. Yeah, no, I need to build up momentum for it. And also, I also just wrapped up another Kickstarter. Not
Right.
wrapped up. It's wrong to say that. The campaign ended, and Kickstarter just got me the funds for that, and so I'm in the fulfillment portion of that, and in the survey portion of it. So the hope is to give a nice big update to those people and say, okay, so here's where we are. Look for the survey soon from Backer Kit. There was add-ons that people could add. There's a lot of walking people through that, a lot of hand holding through that. And at the same time, my Zine Quest campaign is for something that was a stretch goal we never unlocked. So it should be of interest to the people, presumably, who backed the last campaign. Apparently not enough interest. But it should be of some interest to the people who backed the last campaign. And so it's going to be, okay, here's where we stand in fulfillment. And if you're interested in something else in the interim, click on the coming soon page, that sort of thing. So I feel like there's a nice, all of those things will dovetail together and give me I need another 2 weeks of creating artwork, and mostly artwork. The writing part is, well, we can get into that. But for me, the artwork is the challenging part. It's going to take the most time.
And let's talk about you real quick. You remember just before we went live, we were going to say how we were going to introduce ourselves?
Yes, we're professionals. We're professionals.
Uh,
We're most, we're most excited about the merch.
so who the hell are you, Steve?
The hell am Steve Conley. I am the writer and artist of a webcomic called The Middle Age. I've been making webcomics for a very, very long time. And my webcomic, fantasy webcomic, The Middle Age, has been nominated for some Eisners, some Ringos, National Cartoonist Society Award. It's totally free to read online. It's available on Webtoons, Tapas, and Go Comics. Lifelong gamer. Played D&D through way too much of junior high and high school, and long hiatus from it. After playing through college, long hiatus, and then came back during the pandemic in a big way. I've been doing a fantasy comic in the interim, so my head's never really left that space, but I hadn't been rolling dice in a while.
Right.
So I'm back into it, and that's where we find me at this point in our story.
Yeah, a lot of people came back to D&D after or during the pandemic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I hadn't seen friends in ages, and they're all stuck in their houses. We all happen to have, the internet pipelines have been large enough now to actually stream video. So the virtual tabletops were good enough that we could have games online and not really um, be impacted too much. I mean, it's nice to have the minis, it's nice to have the maps, but it's nice to have the in-person camaraderie and chips and drinks. But next best thing was available, so that was pretty great. And then this Critical Role and all those other things like that, stoking interest. And what about your origin story, Dan?
My origin story is I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for some 40 some odd years. Worked in comic books for a number of years, including working with Steve on Star Trek in the past. But now I'm currently a dungeon master for a live show called Catacombs and Comedians, in which I get a bunch of comics up on stage and discuss, or not discuss, but actually play Dungeons and Dragons. And so now I'm creating a lot of D&D content about that or around that. So that's what I'm doing there. And I'm a little, like I just told Steve, I just had a third monitor added, so I'm all over the place this morning.
Right. So so you've got three large monitors and the Stream Deck. So you're basically It's like the Batcave at this point.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Though I think I've got a better action figure collection than Bruce Wayne.
Oh yeah, I like this. I've actually made it large enough on the screen where I could see everything. That's
And
pretty
there
great.
is a Batman figure right about here next to Superman.
Nice.
So yeah, so we got these Kickstarters going. The Kickstarter I have, I'm actually kicking it off tomorrow, and I think it's going to run for like the last, or second to last Friday of the month or something like that. Because I've got it the 25th, I believe. Because I've got a live show at a comedy club here in Nashville on the 23rd, so I want to be able to promote it at the show for one last effort. And again, it's something that deals with catacombs and comedians. It's well, let me see if we can show this off. Let me try hitting a button here. And so there you go. There are the two Kickstarters that are kicking off in August. We've got Steve's Kickstarter and we've got my Kickstarter, the Oddity Offprint, which will be based on catacombs and comedians. And it will offer, it's kind of like a mini monster manual.
That's great. That's great. I can see it on the screen here. I'm so excited. All your did you hit the Stream Deck button and make that happen?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We can nerd out about that, I think.
Yeah, it's let's talk a little bit about streaming. We're both relatively new at it. Steve's been doing a little bit longer than I have, and so I'm getting all the toys now and getting into it. So I've got this little Steam Deck button, so now I can press it. If we were to, step away for a second, I got our Be Right Back.
Does that cut the mics?
No, the mics are still on right now.
Okay, that's interesting.
Though I should cut it. But again, I'm learning this all new. So I'm going to go back to our regular screen. And there we are. So, yeah, I mean, streaming is becoming a big part of Dungeons and Dragons. Have you been on any streamed Dungeons and Dragons games, Steve?
No, I haven't. I've watched a lot. I stumbled onto another one the other night. I wish I could remember the name of it. It was Puppets. They were like Muppet players in the game, alongside, humans, non-felt Americans. And it was fun to watch. It was like, I just love all the creativity and the craziness, all the interactivity on Twitch where you will have, if people vote or chip in some fashion, or if they're a subscriber, they get to add a critical hit to something or make somebody get a bonus to some attack or something like that, or give them inspiration, things like that. I just like the interactivity. But no, I haven't done any live streaming games, I don't think. No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, maybe that's down the pipeline.
Have you?
Just a podcast, but not live stream. I've done a couple podcasts, but I am looking to get Catacombs and Comedians to have a streaming show in addition to the live shows that we do at comedy clubs. So that is something in the works.
Oh, that's great. So you'd have the campaigns live, and then you'd also have a separate game, not just restreaming the ones that are...
Exactly.
That's great.
So I'm working on that behind the scenes. There is a lot of stuff behind the scenes with Catacombs and Comedians. Like yesterday was a very much administration heavy day. I got T-shirts ordered for the merch at the shows. Had to set up, the Square so I can, accept payment at shows. That sort of stuff. There's so many nuts and bolts behind getting something to run smoothly.
That's great. So what were you doing you had merch in the past? How are you handling that? Was it all cash, or
it was all cash. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or, maybe, okay, just send it to my PayPal, and it was really complicated because I never, I really don't, I don't plan well enough.
Well, I mean, this was kind of the very first show. Okay. So the first Catacombs and Comedians was what, a month and a half, 2 months ago, maybe?
Oh, longer than that. About 3 months ago. Yeah.
So, but you went into that. Was there a big question mark hanging over the whole evening? Were you thinking were you going into this thinking this is a one-off? This is going to happen once if I'm lucky, or it could go off the rails immediately? Or
kind of, yeah, because I had never been on stage before,
right,
ever in my life. Now I'm working with local comics who a lot of them play that particular club often, so they feel quite at home there. And I didn't know how it was going to go off. I didn't know how the audience was going to react. I didn't know what kind of crowd we were going to get. And, we got a great crowd, and we got, the second show was another great crowd, and the crowd in Huntsville has been awesome. So, I mean, it's just, the show's just getting, I don't know, bigger and better. Sounds like I'm bragging, but let's just say I'm feeling more comfortable about the show.
Well, that's part of, like, there was no reason to build an infrastructure before going into the first show, because it's like,
right. It was such a crapshoot.
Yeah. I love. Oh yeah. So playing catch up now is like just makes all the sense in the world.
This weekend I went to, because doing the comics, you've worked a lot with comic book shops, right, Steve?
Sure.
You go, you get signings, you do, you set up that sort of stuff. So now I'm trying to hit gaming stores, local gaming stores. And, hey, I got show posters or, flyers for the show. Will you just put it up, whatever, et cetera, because, a lot of D&D, most of these stores, it's a bunch of Magic card players there, but, they got D&D games.
Sure.
So I'm like, hey, put these up. And they're like, great. But now I'm to the point where one local store here in Nashville, and I'll promote it closer when we get to the show, will actually, you walk into his store with your ticket on your phone, because the club is all e-tickets, 25% off all Dungeons and Dragons products.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, that's just another thing. Let's talk about, it's always a hustle. It's a hustle. So, you got to find new avenues to hustle. And yet, you just can't tweet about it. And you just can't, expect all your friends and family on Facebook to follow your post about these projects you write. So I'm going to these stores. I'm saying, hey, let's get involved together. Let's do something together. Maybe I'll have an event here where, me and a couple of the comics come and play games with a couple of your regular customers. Or, let's, how about if, they buy a certain amount of money, you give them a free die, D20. And this one store owner was like, no, this is what I'll do. Bam, bam, bam. And he kept upping up the stakes. So now the support from local retail has been great, in addition to, the comedy club itself and, the regular people who are coming to the show. So, I don't know how to use TikTok, so I'm doing this.
That's great. So last show I was at, the Heroes Con in Charlotte, there was a cartoonist there saying, oh, she was telling me, oh, you got to get on TikTok. You got to get to, I'm like, come on. I'm north of 50. I'm not getting on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm 54. I don't think I'm allowed on TikTok. I think there's this, ordinance that's in place where, if you got so much gray, you're not on TikTok.
I mean, probably, D&D would probably get away with it. But also you got that, you're Rothfussian almost in the in the beard.
Yeah, I'm getting very Santa like in my ears. So but no, so every now and then I'm trying to think of a new and again, let's be honest, Mazes and Muses here, as we roam the labyrinth of creativity, it's not just another tool to promote our work, but we do use it as a tool to promote our work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because it's cutting off the ground, it has 16 fantastic followers. I mean, I view it mostly like a weekly check-in. Yeah. Like, as a chance to go, okay, how we doing? How's it going? Let me check in. It forces me to get up a little bit earlier, be a little more awake on a Sunday. I find it helpful. I find it exciting because I like talking with you. I like catching up. I like seeing, I mean, it feels like you've got a startup right now. And I love startups. You've got this thing, which is, and also it's a startup, which seems to be catching in a way that a lot of startups, you just feel the gears grinding, and it's not, or it's 1% product and 99% bullshit. Forgive me. Sorry. If there's any viewers, but it's 99% promotion and hustle and all this stuff, which is just like way too much. The percentages are way too much. I think you want to get closer to 50-50. You want to have at least something there that you're promoting. And a lot of web cartoonists, hey, I got one episode up. I'm going to spend the next 6 months promoting that single episode of a web comic. I'm like, you have to have 100 episodes to even talk about, to me, in my, you have to have, well, not 100. Let's say 30 episodes to really begin pushing it, because you're going to direct people to what?
Exactly. Yeah.
You direct people to a single episode, to 30 seconds of stuff to do. So, but if you have a really something that they can land on, I feel like it's real. So what I like about your startup is it's real. You have a comedy club full of people who are watching you be a professional DM, and that's a professional DM is a very rarefied group. You know, I mean, sure, there's some people who make it through, you know, the tabletop world. They're like all those pickup groups, professional DMs on
Right.
Foundry and all the other services, Roll20, but yours is a whole other thing. What I loved is also the latest, the Huntsville episode. They're basically the people of the comedians there were like, they kind of, I think they knew you're from out of town, you're a professional DM, and you actually entered like Gandalf into Hobbiton. It was kind of like this mystique that you had as the professional DM, where I think the original group that they started in your living room with the cookies, I think kind of like, well, it's Dan. You know, I think this kind of a buddy, or there's more of a buddy quality where these Huntsville felt a little, and I know they were more experienced players. But it felt like they were like, all right, Dan is coming in. He's got his degree from Gygax University. He's
And that is true, because with the Nashville comics, I was able to, you know, we played a couple practice games before we started. So we had some familiarity and, you know, some jocularity that we could go. So I was, you know, there was this, you know, a familiarity that we were able to comfortable. And I was like, you know, we were kind of, okay, it's us going in. But with the Huntsville show, it was, like you say, I'm coming in to this group and let's see how it goes. And they were great players and they welcomed me with open arms and we had a fabulous fun time. And we're having a meeting, an online chat meeting Tuesday to discuss, okay, here's how that show went. What can we fix? What needs to change? They can give me all their ideas. I could say, no, your ideas are no good. I'm the DM. Let's do what I say. I won't do that, but, and then, what can we do? We'll add this and maybe change this or do, you know, and here's what I'm thinking to do the show. 'Cause there's got to be a little bit more than just getting together for the weekend at the dining room table with the group when you have this. 'Cause, because you know, they named their party, they named their adventuring party. That was part of the show. Because Nashville clan, they're called the SEAL Team Pricks, and so they came up with a name in Huntsville, and they called themselves the Huntsville Haversack Hacks. So I think you caught on. I got another little stream I do here where I do my world building called Fluff and Crunch, and I think you saw and you said, is that a backpack I was designing? And
all right.
So I was working on that, and let me see if I can share that with you.
Ooh, that'd be great.
And there it is there. That's the final logo for the group.
I think it'll take a moment for me. I'm catching it on Twitch over here. So there it is. Oh, that's great. That turned out great.
Yeah, thank you. So that is the official, you know, logo for that adventuring team. I worked the H's in as buckles, threw some swords in there to make, you know, separate it, and that's a haversack. I honestly had no idea what a haversack was.
That's great. Thanks.
And then that star, that ninja star in the back, kind of represents a compass type of thing.
And how many? One for each one of the players. You have 4 players,
yeah,
right?
They one of them pointed that out too. So
that's great.
So, and rather than saying Huntsville, I just call, you know, Hunts works better. And again, you know, this is design. You know, design. I figured having a short word, long word, short word would work better if I were to stack them later for something else.
Yeah, that looks great.
So
that's impressive. That turned out great.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love the color too. I like the idea of the gold, kind of a brassy gold.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of your prep, if the campaign's going live tomorrow, you said
yes,
the oddity off print
for the Zine Quest thing, yes, for the oddity off print #1.
Wow. So, all right. So, how do you feel the prep is gone? How do you and you've done Kickstarters in the past for comics. This is your first one in the gaming section. Is that right?
I've done another one that worked. That was that I was able to pull off. That was very complicated. Didn't come off at the end as well as I'd hoped it had, and there were some issues. So I planned much better for this one. I think that was too grandiose of a project previously. So this time, I'm keeping it small. It's a small zine. I was on another episode of Fluff and Crunch. I was working on the layout, trying to figure out the exact page count and how I was going to put it all together. All the artwork is already done. Steve has already done all the monster artwork, so I've got that going. And right now, it's all the monster stats and all that stuff is written. So right now, I'm just working in the layout part of putting them in neat looking stat blocks and combining it with the monsters and stuff like that. So, and then I'm also limiting it at 100 copies, physical copies.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't. I mean, let's say if I sell out all 100 copies by day 3, I'll go ahead and bump it up.
Sure.
But I don't think that's going to happen. So I want a sense of urgency, kind of like it'll get in because there's only 100.
Right.
When it comes down to, day 21 of the campaign. And then, there's 87 of them have sold. Let's say 87 of them have been backed. Okay, there's only 13 left, so maybe that'll help. But yeah, so this is a much smaller project. And again, when it comes to promotion, I'm in addition to providing a product for 5e, I am using it to promote Catacombs and Comedians because it ties into that project.
How do you set for people who want to start their own Kickstarters? Like,
Don't.
Let's say that. Is that true? Would you recommend someone not do that, or it just feels like too much work sometimes? Or
start small. Start small.
Start small.
Yeah, like something like you're doing right now, which it's just a PDF about a class, a subclass for Wizard. I've got 5 monsters that we're putting together. Kickstarter. Okay, this is what you got to think. I think this is what you must remember about Kickstarters. Kickstarter is not a store. And I think a lot of first-time creators go, "This is how I will use Kickstarter as my storefront to sell my products." And I think you just got to go in as, no, you're looking for investors for the final product. And as neat as it might be to offer stickers and mugs and T-shirts and prints and this and that and this and stretch goals and bonuses and all this sort of stuff, because it's neat and it's fun to promote your product, that's just more work, a lot more work, and a lot more fun, and it's all money. And I think, like with this Kickstarter, this zine, there's no stretch goals. There's I'm giving 15 people, the 15 early bird backers get a sticker, and those are stickers that are already made, and that's it. I'm not going to say, if we reach, this amount of money, everybody gets a sticker. Matt Colville can do that with his products because he's got a huge following and he's got a lot of stuff to back it up with.
$2 million campaign is going to happen. Sure.
Yeah. But with first time, just, if you don't do more than one stretch goal is what I would say. If you do any stretch goals, start small, get it up there early and promote it early, because you want to jump out of the gate. And that's one thing. This is like the first time I've done it with, this is the first time I've got it up early wrong one, than saying, hey, the preview screen of, and again, I mean, I guess it tells you how many people are going to be reminded once you hit 10. I don't even have 10 people following this yet, and it starts tomorrow.
Right.
And I've been, preaching the hell out of it on my various social medias. And I'm not worried about it, or, I'm not complaining about it. It's just, it's a kind of a niche product. And again, this is the first thing from Zero Level Media rather than me. And, if I do it.
Was there a thought as to making it Zero Level Media versus you? Is there a,
well, because I'm concentrating now on Zero Level Media as the D&D, as my D&D hustle. I guess my side project, my D&D imprint, and that includes this stream and future streams that involve D&D. That includes the Catacomb Comedians live shows, and that includes any party or product that I put out for
Gotcha.
D&D or other role-playing games. I just wanted all focused under one thing, because I didn't want to go into Catacombs and Comedians saying, Dan Taylor's Catacombs and Comedians, because that makes me sound egotistical or like Barnum,
Right. Sure.
P.T. Barnum.
Yeah. Or like Goodman Games, or like more like Dwarven Forge, things like that. You're creating a brand that you're going to say, okay, here's where you get good stuff. Is there okay? So getting back to the nuts and bolts of the Kickstarter, somebody's like has ignored our warnings not to get near Kickstarter. Like they decided they're going to make their own. How did you come up with the prices for your things, and how did you set your campaign goal?
Okay, I set up my prices because I priced out the physical, how much each physical copy would do, and that's why I also capped it at 100, because I wanted to, if I do less, I'll print less, but that's no big deal. I mean, it's not I got to do 100 or it's no go. So I saw how much it would cost to print out how much each individual product would cost at a quantity of 100 printed. I looked at shipping, because nobody ever remembers shipping, and shipping counts as part of the money that you collect as towards your final goal.
Towards your goal, yeah.
So if you just go, okay, I'm going to go $500 and that'll cover shipping, you hit it. A lot of that money may be just for the shipping and not for the printing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I figured out how much it would cost to ship that amount of product. And then I, to be honest with you, I lowballed it, and it's at $500. If I make, and because that's PDF sales are going to go into it too. I don't expect to sell 100 copies of these. I really don't. I'll be happy if 50 physical product go out. That would be great. I expect maybe a lot of the PDF version will sell.
I'm excited for one. So the products tiers you got the PDF, and you're gonna have the physical edition.
Yep, that's it.
Right.
And I have first 15 people that back the physical product get it for $1 cheaper, and they get a sticker added.
Right. And there's no add-ons. There's no, just pure, straightforward. Yeah. That's great.
And it's going to be full color. So that's expensive. I mean, it's going to be an expensive pamphlet.
Right.
But again, it's more of a collector's item for, fans of Catacombs and Comedians.
That's great.
So if I'm averaging about 120 people at a show now. So if 20 of each show at each show buy one, that's 40. That's half my goal right there.
Right.
I
mean, during the campaign, not telling it to them afterwards, like having a little table.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that's another thing. If I print all 100, 50 go out, and I ship 50 for the Kickstarter, I want to have another 50 to sell at the merch table after each show.
That's great.
And once those are gone, they're gone. I don't, and I'll also put it up on Drive-Thru RPG.
Nice.
Afterwards, and maybe for $1 more, the PDF for $1 more than I'm offering it on Kickstarter.
Did you find it difficult to navigate the open game license? I don't know, gobbledygook that you have to include in every one of these things? Not really.
I mean, I've toyed enough with third-party projects that I've done myself. I think for me, it just basically comes down to as long as you don't steal from anybody else's stuff directly,
right?
And you don't use any of the Wizards of the Coast trademark names. You don't throw a Mind Flayer in there, or don't throw, a Beholder in there. You're safe. I mean, don't set it in Forgotten Realms. If you want to do all that stuff, then you do it through the DM's Guild.
Right. Is there a so have you shared any of your stat blocks or stuff with other DMs? Have you put it on Reddit or anything like that?
I've got them on my Patreon, I've got a couple of them on there, and I've shared, and I have not gone out specifically looking for feedback from DMs because the Catacombs and Comedians is kind of a different animal when it comes to D&D. I mean, they're crazy, weird creatures like the dire trash pandas.
Right.
So if they don't necessarily fit the exact mold, or if something might be broken, it's for comedic purposes.
Sure. I think the artwork's a lot of fun. So do you have any, are you able to share artwork of the...
Not yet. I don't have anything handy, but this is one thing I am doing when the Kickstarter kicks off. I'm showing the artwork for each and every monster in the zine will be on the Kickstarter page.
Great, because it looks great. Your name of your artist again?
Steve Musgrave.
Steve Musgrave.
And let's be honest, art sells RPG products.
Yeah.
More than the writing. No one's going to, someone will pick it up and look at it because it's got a neat looking monster art, or it's got a great looking map. But they're not picking it up and reading 4 paragraphs going, oh, this is a great product.
Right. What a rich textual environment. I saw an ad on Facebook. Now, I've clicked enough Kickstarter things and ads on Facebook. And by the way, social media is useless for us to promote our stuff. It's like, I post something and, I'm so excited for it and only 3 people will see it, but you post a picture of your cat and it gets 200 upvotes. Again, there's no emotional trigger for what we're doing. Like, there's no, like, someone's going to see your Kickstarter and get angry. I mean? There's no, the social media doesn't appreciate like any of this crowdfunding stuff. But I see all these TTRPG and Kickstarter ads now, and there was one from a company they've never backed a Kickstarter, they've never done a Kickstarter, and it has like 500 people waiting for it because the artwork and the mini that's shown in the little preview, all that stuff are just so badass looking. Like, because that's definitely a school of D&D art.
Nobody's going to go, ooh, Dan Taylor's creating monsters, I'm going to check out this Kickstarter. They're going to go, ooh, that's a neat looking half turkey, half boar. What the hell is that? I got to check this out because Steve Musgrave drew it. Yeah, there you go, the foul boar.
That's going to find its way onto. I've got a convention bin that's covered with vinyl stickers, and that's going to find its way on there.
Good. The more foul boars out in the wild, the better. The foul boars sort of become our unofficial mascot for Catacombs and Comedians because it's just so effing ridiculous.
That's great.
So yeah, so I can't remember where I was. Oh yeah, so it's all art. Art is the best, and working with Steve Musgrave has been very easy. And that's another thing with this Kickstarter is, I want to give him some more money. So, I want to, I would love to have enough artist friends, and I've got great artist friends, but I can't ask all my artist friends to work for free. So,
right.
Yeah. And they'll...
Yeah, there's a project I'd like to do after this. I want to do like an old school module. And, part of the thought would be to ask people to draw in black and white, like as if they were, Jeff D or Bill Willingham or Errol Otis doing the black and white interior artwork. But, you can't ask them to do that. You got to set a budget. And, even if you want 10 illustrations, suddenly the cost is going to go through the roof. It's nice to be an artist. I can create my own artwork. But I do feel like the pressure of creating good artwork is so much higher than it had been. Like, I feel like 5E, going back a bit, Jeff Easley and all these great artists have made fantasy artwork so impressive that, what I like what you're doing is you're going comedic, lighthearted, and it's kind of like the cartoony work is perfect. But I'm like trying to do this painterly thing now, and it's like kicking my butt. So my hope with my campaign is to spend the next 2 weeks streaming, probably a little more often, and working on the pieces and saying, here's what I'm working on. It's this thing. Go sign up for when it launches. And so I'm going to basically use all that time and all that stuff on social media. There's an artist named Kenan James, and he's got a book coming up about a coffee table book First of all, his D&D artwork is gorgeous. Ken and James, check out his Instagram, check out him out on social media. He has a classic D&D style. It looks like it could have come right out of the player, one of like the advanced D&D player's handbook or monster manual, but it's also modern. It doesn't look retro. It's a weird combination. It's like classic and modern. I love his work, but he's got a coffee table book of just like weird fish that he's drawn. And he very often on Facebook, here's a fish, here's a crazy looking fish. And then the very first link is, here's the Kickstarter if you want to follow along. Last I checked, he had something like 40 something followers. I think that's, to me, a method that I will approach now that my page is live, now that the coming soon page is live, that I will share a piece of artwork and here's the link. And if there was any rough sketch, I would say maybe if you're the opportunity for you would be like, if Musgrave has any rough sketches, maybe here's the foul bear that wasn't, right. Here's a picture, first link, that sort of thing. And like, drive people that way. But I'm with you. My campaign is going to be very small. I mean, when I come up with my goal, it's usually thinking, okay, how many people do I think reasonably will back this? I'll go, okay, 30 people. And if it's 30 people and the cost of this thing is $10, I'm going to make my goal $300. I mean, that's where my head goes with all these things. That's not what I'm doing with this one. I still have time to tweak it. That's another thing why I haven't launched yet, because I'm like, okay, I can tweak these things. I can, I mean, I really want the PDF to be $1, but I don't know if that's a dumb idea. I don't know if that's saying, if it makes it feel too cheap. I like the idea of making it a thing where it's like, this is, everybody can do it. Everybody can, I want it to be a no-brainer where someone goes, okay, that's too cheap not to, right? But I don't want it to be so, that's too cheap to be worth anything. I'm trying to find that, like, is it going to be $2? I don't know.
I think because I've done a lot of stuff, and I think $1 is too cheap.
Really?
Because I remember Kickstarter takes their cut,
right?
And it's it's a good price point. I think I did my PDF at $3 because I've got 5 monsters in there, and I broke it down. I'm like, okay, so you're paying 60 cents a monster. That's how I'll
That's great.
So 60 cents a month. This monster's worth 60 cents for your game if you buy the PDF.
That's great.
And then
I want to figure out the quarter. Still only 60 cents a month.
I think and then like the PDF, I think is $10 just because it's
the print copy. Print copy's $10.
Yeah, the print copy because actually it might be $9. I can't remember. I set it all up 2 weeks ago, and I haven't gone back to look at it.
And people who get the print copy get the PDF as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's because, I mean, it took me forever to realize that PDFs are, a product to be valued. I'm like, somebody's selling me their PDF for $20, and I'm like, no, that's how much I used to buy books for. Well, I can't buy a book for, that kind for $20 anymore, but I'm still old school physical, Sure. I like my books. I like my, I couldn't wrap my head around, paying money for, more than $1, like you said, $1 for a PDF, but it's still the same amount of work goes into putting it together.
Right.
Blame the paper shortage.
It's functional. People don't want to, our shelves are full of toys, not books. Yeah. And, and you want to be able to search, so I get the value of a PDF. Also, I like PDFs because I've got so many friends who produce Kickstarters. Like, I want to support them all. And I know one of the key things about it is if it's a PDF, I can support it. And giving them the thing that really matters is that all the people who follow me will see a notification. Steve just backed this thing. Yeah. They don't know what tier I backed it for. They'll just know Steve backed this thing, and they'll be invited to check it out. And that's why, like as soon as your thing launches, I'm going to back it, whether it's for the book, probably for the book. But even if let's say you had like an $80 book and a $10 PDF, it's like, okay, $80. I'm a struggling artist. I'm going to buy the $10 PDF. And so, because I know that when my friends do that, what I'm really giving them is, a shout out to all my community, which works way better than anything Facebook or Twitter will do.
Yeah. And also that one extra person backing it helps too.
Right. And then it cascades because they back it. And then the people who follow them find out about. That's Kickstarter special sauce right now. That's even with all these other people who are, crowdfunder and with Zoop. Is that
Yeah,
one?
Zoop. I've bought one book from Zoop because it was somebody I know.
Right.
And but yeah, I'm like you. I will back too many crowdfunding just of friends of people I know, and I've had to pull back. And I'm always like, oh, I'll get the physical book because I want the physical book. But now I'll just and a lot of these. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I just will buy someone's PDF and never open it. Never download it.
Yeah.
But they got my money, and I helped their property.
Right.
And that's really, and I mean, a lot of this, let's say, my Kickstarter is a rounding success, and I make it's two times my $500 goal. It's $1,000. I'll get out all my print copies. Everybody will be happy. They'll get a copy. All the PDFs are out. Great. I give Steve plenty of money for doing the artwork. Most of that money will probably go back in other people's Kickstarters.
Right.
Just to
it
keep
feels
it
a little bit like Artist Alley, where one artist is going to buy that person's book, other person's going to buy that person's book, and like the only people really making money is Kickstarter.
Yeah, and I've got no problem with it, and I love supporting other creative people. And if it's something that sounds interesting, I'll jump on it. Like there was a recent role playing game called Mutants in the Now or something like that. It's kind of like a Gamma World type of thing with animal mutants and stuff like that, and that just looked neat. And I missed the original Kickstarter, but I bought the physical copy anyway, just on a whim. But then they recently just launched another one that's finished, and I jumped on that one. And
that's great.
Just because I like supporting other books. Which, as a matter of fact, that's a good way to bring up now. It's not a Kickstarter, but it is a drive-through RPG product. Next Sunday, we're going to talk to DC Bradshaw.
That's great.
And he's a creator of third-party tabletop products, a lot of 5e stuff, a lot of D&D stuff. And he created a kind of a D&D 5e version for little kids called Little But Fierce. So, and I've had that same idea. I've been my daughter's 6 years old. I want to play Dungeons and Dragons with her. She has her own set of dice. She's never played, but she keeps asking me, Dad, when are we going to play D&D? So I've been working on an idea that I'm calling 5 Easy Peasy.
That's cute.
Kind of pun on 5e, where it's just the difficulty is going to be sets of 5. Something very easy to do. You got to roll a 5 or more on a d20. But I'm going to try to keep as much d20 or 5e elements to it as I can. So we're going to pick DC Bradshaw's brain next weekend about how he puts together his products. I don't think he's done any of them Kickstarter, but he's doing, product's doing okay on drive-through RPG, and he's got some DM's Guild stuff. So that will be our first guest, another creative to have coffee with in the morning.
Yeah, I'm excited because I've got tons of questions. I mean, it'll be nuts and bolts stuff too. Like, how do you decide whether something's drive-through RPG or DM's Guild? I mean, sure, there's like, if you want to have a beholder, your DM's Guild, but are there other considerations? What are the pitfalls, pros and cons? I mean, hopefully he doesn't tire of
no. Well,
no. But I love talking shop.
Yeah, and I think he's based in England, so it'll be 3:00 in the afternoon when we talk to him. So he'll be fine. But he's all for it, and then a couple weeks after that, we'll talk to Matt Forbeck, who did the new Marvel multiverse RPG, and he's got shotguns and sorcery and all. He's a staple when it comes to the role-playing game industry. I mean, way back in the day with Brave New World and all sorts of stuff. I think he did Blood Bowl stuff, and his list of credits is way too long to get into. We could spend a whole hour just naming off his credits. So it's just not going to be Steve and I you're going to be talking to here in the maze of Muses. We're going to, get other people who are far more knowledgeable than us, and rather than just Steve and I, kicking each other in the ass to get motivated, we're going to ask these other people, what they do and how they do it. And that hopefully inspire us, motivate us, be our muses, and then also be the muses for other creators out there as well.
That's awesome. And I also think of this. I mean, partly it's the shop talk with you, getting the check in, but also creating a time capsule. Something of value, because every once in a while I stumble onto an audio clip, an audio interview of some creator from back in the day. I'm like, I'm so glad this exists, because someone's gonna be like, oh man, I'm so glad these conversations with Dan Taylor exist. Is there a so your campaign starts tomorrow, you said?
Yeah, I don't know what time.
I specifically was gonna ask, like, if you
Because it's right now, just because it's the preview page and it's set to start tomorrow, but they don't give you time you can start it.
you just hit the button, that's when you're
Well,
gonna.
I can't, but it will automatically start.
Will it?
I think so, because I have it set. It says set to schedule August 1st, 2022, but there's no time.
Gotcha.
So I mean, if it doesn't happen if I don't wake up in the morning and it's not on, I'll hit the start button. So that'll be about 6 o'clock in my time, 7 Eastern. Yeah. And then I have it set to end on that Friday night about 9:30 my time.
Good. I don't like when people. I think it's bad. There's a lot of people who just have it run 28 days, and so they launch at 6 a.m. and then it ends at 6 a.m. I'm like, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. So I figure that's 6:30 out west, or no, 7:30 out west. That gives everybody enough time to get home from work, get back on their computer, and go, oh yeah, that's there. And it's a Friday, so it's a payday.
Right.
So
and the Kickstarter system sends out 2 reminders 48 hours ahead and 8 hours ahead. So they will get one Wednesday night at 9:30, and they're going to get one, early in the day on Friday. I think that's perfect timing. That's perfect.
And again, I just like you, I will be when you close yours out on streaming, I will do the same, probably the same, working on, probably, hopefully, my plan is to have it. Well, I guess I'll still be maybe doing the finishing touches on it, because hopefully as soon as all the funds are collected, which happens maybe a week or so after.
2 weeks? Like 2 weeks. It's like almost 2 weeks to the microsecond. Whenever your campaign ends, you'll get an email saying, okay, now it's going to take 2 to 3 days to get to your bank. Okay. So they basically start the transfer process 2 weeks, precisely 2 weeks after the campaign closes, because that gives them time to try to process all the credit cards, because sometimes they fail.
So my goal is, as soon as I get the notification that all the funds have been collected, I hit the send button on the PDF.
That's great.
Yeah. Boom. PDFs are done, off my plate. Don't need to worry about those.
Yeah.
And presumably at that time, I've already,
because you're not going to have backer kit. You're not going to have fulfillment. I mean, you do have to. The survey will have things like. I mean, the nice thing about the survey part is that you get to say, "Hey, would you like to be added to my mailing list? Would you want to? Here's my Twitch link." Mm-hmm. You get to do all that stuff in the survey portion of it. But you do want to find out what email address they're going to send it to, right? Or are you giving them a coupon code to go through drive-through RPG, or how are you going to deliver your PDFs?
PDFs, I'll probably just send it direct,
like an email to someone.
Just a link, that way, I'll send the email depending on the size of the final PDF.
Right.
If it's easy enough to send in an email, I'll just send it that way. But I will also provide a link to download as well. And
I get that a lot. For someone puts it on Google Drive or OneDrive, or one guy is very smart. Oh, okay. So this is like, if you would have put a preview up, say here's 2 pages. I forget which Kickstarter I looked at. I thought this is brilliant. What they did is, here's the preview of the thing, and it wasn't just a link, because what I've done in the past is I've taken my WordPress site or whatever, and I've uploaded the PDF there and given people a direct link to it. And that's what I do for the character cards I had at my last Kickstarter. This guy was way smarter. He posted them to a free page on Patreon. So you gotta, to go pick up the free thing, you got to go over to Patreon. It's still free.
Yeah.
Patreon's, but now they're over on your Patreon poking around there. And it's like.
That's exactly what I'm using the Zero Level Media Patreon page for. It's kind of like my web blog, and most of the stuff are just free posts.
Nice.
But it's still getting people there.
Right.
And every 5th post will be, no, you want to see this monster stat block, you're going to have to pay the $3 a month.
Nice.
Type of thing. Or here, here's the raw video footage from the one Catacombs of Comedians show at the club. And then, a week later is when I put it up on YouTube. That sort of stuff.
Right.
And I also use it as a, like the video of this will be available there as well. Not because people have to pay to watch it, but just as a one-stop shop
Sure.
for all things zero level media.
That's smart.
Yeah. And it's like a free WordPress site, really.
It really is. And it's like, and it's not like you're worried about hosting or password security or, oh my gosh, there's another update from WordPress I got to install, or
And you could
yeah.
you can host huge files on there too.
Really?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
so yeah, it's a great way to set up your if you're a creative type, set up, don't use a WordPress blog, don't use, what Tumblr or anything like that. Just set up on a Patreon and just have it for free for most things,
Yeah, my hope for my campaign, I think, is that, I mean, I'm hoping to get people who've never heard of the Middle Age. That's my primary goal, is to get people who have never heard of my webcomic. Apart from doing what Ken and James has done by posting the artwork, just to let people know, because I know that Facebook and Twitter are so bad at sharing our stuff that you have to be repetitive, but you don't want to be repetitive. You don't want to be boring. You don't want to say the same thing over and over again. So the idea of having a piece of artwork that's new, that people haven't seen before, or stuff that I'm creating along the way, I'm hoping is going to help that side of things. But to me, I'm hoping Reddit is a key part of this. And I honestly don't expect my comic fans to care. Like, I think sure, people might be interested in the world of the Middle Age. They might like the humor of the Middle Age and might think that, and because there's a lot of that in this, but it's still not comics. It's still a role-playing game mini source book. So why on earth would any comic reader care? So I think this is really going to be trying to find a whole new audience, which is not a brilliant plan. But I do hope that some of these TTRPG people will help. And I hope that the ZineQuest tag, I really hope that Kickstarter does something to shine a light on us, because I took part in their Make 100 month, and I was underwhelmed by. I was hoping here's a hub of all the stuff, and there wasn't even that. I mean, you could sort of manually go and dig, but it wasn't like here on the front page of Kickstarter, here's all the Make 100 things. I'm hoping with ZineQuest, they're promoting the concept in such a big way on the homepage now. I'm hoping that they continue to promote the things that are actually being made in a big way.
And I like what a lot of people complained who are do these Zine Quest all the time, that it's this month of August instead of February. I think it normally is.
Right.
So I like this month of August, using it as an opportunity. This is my first Zine Quest, so if it goes well, you damn well know that Oddity Off Print #2 will be available in February.
In February, sure. I was thinking the same thing, like, oh yeah, okay, good. This is great. This is a good, and the timing was great because, again, it was this stretch goal I didn't get to make, and so, oh, I've got this content right around the corner. I just didn't think, right now I've got my layout and I've just got a hole that says art goes here. And I'm like, oh, I gotta put in something less awful. So has any of it gotten away from, have you gotten to a page where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for the situation? Or was it challenging at all to distinguish the monsters that you've created? Like, I want to make, like, there's one's got a cool feature and now the other monsters have to have an equally cool feature, or they're too similar to one another, or what was it? I imagine each one has a signature ability, like a thing that says this is this creature. That's what sets this creature apart. It's not just like, okay, it makes 2 attacks that do 5 points of damage.
Most of them do. Like the foul boar is just ridiculous looking. It doesn't really have a special, I think I borrowed, it will charge and has the tusk damage and,
okay, that's great.
Sort of stuff. But for this first issue of the Oddity Off Print, I went with the burnt or the hot chicken. I've already used, so it's all statted up. I've already written the lore about it. It was in a game. It was actually, people can hear about it on the Catacombs and Comedians podcast on the very first one, so it's there.
That's great.
The dire trash panda is on Huntsville. It's already there, and I'm at the Dire Trash Panda failed horribly during the show. The players just kicked the crap out of it too easily. So I'm beefing it up a little bit before I release it in the book. So it's like a play test. I use the live shows. This is how I play test my material.
In front of a crowd of 120 people.
Yeah, in front of a live, because nobody knows D&D more than these people. And then the other things, creatures, instead of the murder hobos, that generic term for players that just go around murdering monsters and collecting treasure or whatever and don't have a home base, I got the homicidal hobos. That's a whole different book. Homicidal hobos. And I told Steve when he did the artwork, give him sort of like a Emmett Kelly clown look, hobo look,
Okay.
So, and they're going to be cursed. They're not just murder hobos. Their curse is they're murder hobos, but they're cursed to commit these murders. So I haven't worked out all the stats completely on them yet, but that's in it. And let's see, foul boar, homicidal hobos, Burntum, trash panda, and then the tainted zombies, which are my, just the word taint is so fun. I use it a lot.
Yeah, you're asking the comedians you're just feeding them red meat.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a whole zombie, and this is my infectious type zombie, because this is my more like George Romero type zombie, but they're rather than the old D&D zombie where they don't infect you and turn you into zombies, but these do. So, and they're just again with Steve's ridiculous artwork, over the top cartoony look. It's a lot of fun, and his artwork again has set the tone of the game as well. Tone of the campaign and the tone of Catacombs of Comedians. I was so lucky to find him and have him jump on it and be enthusiastic about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's striking, and it's got a real distinct look to it. I've got the your Kickstarter page right here, and the artwork, it's strong. I like your graphic sense. I like the I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping you hit your goal in short order.
Yeah, and if worst comes to worst, let's say I'm still $200 short. I'll let my mom know, and she'll drop in the $200.
That was part of my thinking. What I was gonna, I know we're coming up on the end here, but I mean, what my first thought was, I'm gonna have the PDF for $1, and I'm gonna set the campaign goal for $5, because I'll just do this thing no matter what. And then I got more complicated because I thought I would add a mini to it. That's a mini I've been sculpting on my Twitch channel. And I thought, okay, so I've got the PDF, got the book, and then I've got the mini. Now the mini, just to make 20 of the mini is going to cost me $500 because there's a ton of setup fees associated with it. That most of it's going to be setup fees, because you just have to have a master mold made. You have to have the engineer / artist who's going to take my model and slice it and dice it as needed. But man, I really want to have that mini in it, because it's like I'm so happy with the mini.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's completely self-indulgent that I would have a goal, and basically the whole goal. I could see losing money on this for sure. Okay, because of my own ambition.
So let's figure this out real quick. You said it was $500 for 20.
Probably, yeah.
Minis?
Yeah. Pulling it out of my butt.
What if could you just at this point just make the file available and that people can use it on their own printers?
Yeah, I could, but I want a mini.
I know you want a mini. But I love you, Steve, but I'm not dropping $125 on your PDF to get the mini.
Oh, no. It's one of the things where it's like, and the thing is, the past, when people were supporting the previous minis, it's like, because it's a real thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, part of it, I have to think long term. Like, if I make the minis, can I resell them later on? Like a Sir Quimp mini, no matter what book I do in the future, Sir Quimp is the main character of the Middle Age. So people will want that mini in my next hardcover collection. When volume 3 of the Middle Age comes out, it'll be like, oh, and if you want, here you can get the miniature of him.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if this other character, who's not a character for my story, he's just an intoximancer. He's just a wizard who has a stein. I don't know if people will.
Well, you'll have to write him in.
I know. He'll have to be an adventure. I'll have to give him a name at some point. I don't know if it, but I can't introduce new characters this late in the third arc of the story just for product placement.
Sure you can.
Who's this new character we've never met before? He's got a URL on his shirt.
Back page material.
What's that?
Back page material.
Yeah, I got to figure something out. But
a short story at the end, or just give him a 1-issue floppy.
But then just try 20. Just draw 20 new pages of artwork. Every one of these solutions is, backbreaking more backbreaking work.
Hey, you're the one that chose to be an artist instead of a writer. So
I got 2 weeks to figure it all out. That's another reason why. So it's like maybe I will excise him from the. Maybe I'll excise the mini from the.
Okay, project. What would the just thinking real quick? What would be the minimum? What would be the pledge level to get a mini?
$25.
Okay.
So people get the mini in the book and the PDF. So, and I know also $25 is Kickstarter's alleged sweet spot where people are like, I'll pay $25 for that. But then everything has to look great. It has to look like it's worth $25. So that's the whole thing. Like if I'm gonna have to look at it with dispassion right before we go live, and I'll have to decide whether or not I get rid of this character or not.
Well, do it, and place a maximum quantity on it, on the mini.
No. I don't want to ever put a cap on the amount of success. I don't want to. And also, if I do add-ons and stuff like that, every kind of the discount thing in Kickstarter is what kicked my butt last time, because I set up a tier early on so people could save money if they got all 4 figures.
Mm-hmm.
But then later on, I had a bonus. I had a add-on figure that, like, if we unlocked it, you could go back in and buy something. And the only way within Kickstarter's own system is, okay, you go. They're used to editing pledges. They're not used to adding stuff to pledges because their add-on system is kind of slapped on top of their core system. So in order to add something to your pledge, you have to go back and edit your pledge, and you can't edit a pledge for a tier that's no longer available.
Right. So
because it only had 48 hours in the first 48 hours to get it, so I had people who pledged more money than they initially wanted to add the thing, and I felt like I was ripping them off. So for $5, I hate that it happened like that. I don't like the system. So I'm never going to be giving early bird discounts again, just because. Well, if I'm going to use their add-on system, who knows? Maybe I'll never use their add-on system again. I mean, I feel like if I'm going to use Backer Kit, I might as well do it there.
I guess, yeah.
Or I won't make a stretch goal something that you have to buy. It'll be a stretch goals will only be freebies, something like that.
That's what our freebies are just enhancements.
Right, because like you with the sticker, if I had said everyone who the first 48 hours you get whatever's worth $5, a custom D20 or just some extra stickers or I don't know, an art print or something like that, then it would be like, okay, now they don't have to go through, and it would. But I'm changing what I would like to give people based on the stupid technical aspects of Kickstarter and not based on what I think is nice and what I think is affordable. Ugh. Work.
Yeah, I hear you. It's working. That's why. And remember, this is your simple Kickstarter.
Right. That's another thing. But I did like the idea of only 3 tiers. I like the idea of the PDF, book, and then mini and book and PDF. It's like a little package. We'll see. If the mini might be terrible. If I can't figure out what his boots should look like, I'll throw the whole thing out.
Yeah, because now you got to get your custom Stein in there too.
Oh God. I do have. I'm excited. I over the next 2 weeks, as I'm preparing this, I'm. I don't think the Zine Quest. The thing just has to start during the month, right? It doesn't have
Yes,
to.
just has
Okay.
to start during the month of August,
Okay. I won't
supposedly.
procrastinate too much. I won't procrastinate, but it'll start like in the middle.
Well, next Sunday morning, I'm going to ask you how it's coming,
All right.
and
That sounds good.
you'll have to let us know.
All right. That sounds good.
Okay. All right, Steve. I'm out of coffee.
Oh yeah, me too. Sad.
Plug everything before we sign off.
All right. My name's Steve Conley, web cartoonist. Thanks for folks who are checking out the replay of this or have joined us here and are lurking in the stream. I appreciate you all. If you want to check out my webcomic, it's called The Middle Age. It's available on Webtoons, Tapas, Go Comics, and my own website at middleagecomic.com. And I've got a Kickstarter starting for Zine Quest in the middle of August, about 2 weeks from now. If you go to steveconley.com/intoximancy, you'll be able to find the coming soon page. Intoximancy is spelled exactly like it sounds.
And then I'm Dan Taylor. I am the producer and dungeon master for Catacombs and Comedians, the stand-up comedy Dungeons and Dragons live show here in Nashville and Huntsville, maybe Birmingham in a few months or so. We're hitting the road, I guess. And then, but you can also hear the podcast. Check out catacombsandcomedians.com for that information, where to find the podcast. You can also find Mazes and Muses. This here stream you're watching now is a podcast. The title, just search for that title wherever you get your podcast. And then be sure to check out the Oddity Off Print. Catacombs and Comedians presents the Oddity Off Print 5 Fearsome Foes for your 5e game or something along those lines. It's a much more clever tagline I thought up than I can remember off the top of my head. But that will go live tomorrow, August 1st, run through August 25th. Jump on it early, spread the word. And again, thank you all for joining us for coffee and creative talk this morning. And we will talk to you all next Sunday with our guest DC Bradshaw. And until then, may you make all your saving throws.